Okay, so I'm going to show you how I transform this to this. So if you just stick around, I will show you how. Clearly I have started out as non-violet, but as this goes on I will turn into non-violet again. Anyway, just thought I'd give you the blank slate before I start off. So, get ready for the transformation. As I explained in my first video, however long ago, saying I was going to start doing these things, I'm just going to do what I think works for me to transform myself into the characters that have been suggested. So for instance, I look a lot like Liza Minnelli, so when I get to that video, I will be playing on a lot of the features that I have naturally, but other people who don't look like that will have to do something completely different. Does that make sense? I'm going to do Bette Davis. It's mostly about the eyes, and hopefully there will be something in that people who might want to do this can try it themselves. Give it a shot. A good friend of mine here in Houston, Miss Courtney Page Van Wales, does Bette Davis, and she does it very well. So she is someone you should look at to see how she does hers. She does great face. Troy has requested that I steer well clear of the camp Bette Davis approach, which I think is a mistake. I'm kidding. So I'm happy to do it for him how he'd like. Courtney goes for very, very camp. So if you want to see how she does it, then check her out. And here's how I will be doing it for Troy as requested. Okay, so here I am at the creams level. I have used creams that are darker to draw the nose shape on right and blend it. Her nose was very, very thin, but she had a very round at the end, very Cupid dollish, and it's slightly off-center. So I've done that a little in this level, which you can kind of see the little bit of tilt. And I will accentuate in the next level. I also have a much stronger chin than Bette Davis does, so you can't really tell. Yeah, you see the little brown stripe? So I've squared it off because her jaw is much more square. But I'm going to draw my eyebrows on because I like the freedom of doing that on this cream level before I powder. And then I will show you what that looks like afterwards. And we have eyebrows. Young film star Bette Davis was very thin thing, and then older Bette Davis was crazy eyes, so I'm sort of going in between the two. And now I'm going to contour with powder. Okay, so far I have drawn on a very round crease, because her eyes were very, you know, big, sort of starey. Keeping the shape very round. It's getting very tricky since I have to keep sliding the laptop around. Okay, so I've done the work on this side pretty much. I have just used my base primer to cut out the crease a little more and then blended out the top with brown to make it look more like a natural shadow and less like a, I mean it's still drag, but I look like Cher. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the side. So we've got our Bette Davis eyebrows and our Bette Davis eyelids. Note that this has a little more black. I'm going to come accent a little more out here, and then I'm going to draw that line under to give the big expressive roundness. Okay, so I have done on this eye what I'm going to do on this eye, and you can see I've done the black all the way around on both. See how this one's a little heavier? I took the black and I just made sort of a very nice round, the bottom being slightly less round, and then I've taken my white, you can't really see, and then I've just sort of grazed the line. Actually I need to trigger up a little bit more on this side. So see, I've just taken the white on the flat brush and just sort of blended the black out. And it was that heavy before. I took my middle tone brown and I just dusted some on my brush and hit the sides of my nose because I spent all that time putting the contour on the cream level. I've got the right shape and it just sort of darkens it up and makes it look just that much off. Ooh, looking at it makes my nose feel weird. But that's how hers is, I promise. Okay, so what I've done different now since you've last seen it is we've taken a little light brown and I have just drawn with the brown a more circular shape under the eye. I've hit it even in here to make it even a little more round because my eyes make a little more of a point right there. So my eyes are big, but not as round as hers are. So I have used my white pencil not all the way on the outside of my waterline, if you see, and then I've drawn it a little extra into and right below the lash line on the middle. You can kind of see. And that will make it look more round. You can sort of see when I lean back that I have drawn this just a little bit with my brown because she had that kind of dimply when she smiled. Now the pictures that I have for my references that aren't Whatever Happened to Baby Jane don't show Bette Davis ever wearing a lot of blush. So I have this middle pink color, and I'm just going to lightly dust in that region, keeping it very retro. So I'm just going to sort of hit from back to this. Not a big fan of the blush, Bette Davis. And that's all we're doing, just a little bit of a hue. Do you see? Just a little bit. Just a little bit of blush in that vein, just to make sure she doesn't look like a black and white picture. That's all we're doing, just a little bit of blush. I always like to hit my temples with just a tiny bit of blush, because it makes the face a little warmer, and even though it's not really a Bette Davis thing, I'm going to do it anyway. So just a little there, and just a little there. And it just sort of livens you up just a tiny bit. Okay, Bette Davis didn't really have a Cupid's bow. This little, you can't really see. See the top of my lips, how they dimple right here? She didn't really have one of those, and they never pretended to give her one. So her lip shape is literally around like that. So I'm going to draw those on real quick, where I can actually look up close in the mirror, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've drawn Bette Davis's lips on. Hers is very distinct. Hers is actually more round than mine, but when I did that the first time, it looked kind of ridiculous. So I have drawn mine on. Now, the shape on the bottom, her mouth looks like it was drawn round, and then they drew points on the side. So I have drawn mine, and then I just took my little eyeshadow base, because it's a tiny bit lighter than my foundation, and I have drawn in an angle, and then down, and an angle, and then down. And I think that using a slight bit of white, or not white, but a lighter color around her red lips sort of accentuates to make it pop. And if you have an unusual shape like that, and like the round at the top, I find a tiny line that's lighter sort of emphasizes the strangeness of it. I will put some lipstick on them, and then the most important part of Bette Davis looks, lashes. Alright, I'm in the middle of putting on lashes, so this is not what they'll look like when they're done, but I just wanted to show you what I have. These are well worn, and I think that's a good secret to a Bette Davis look, is to have that messy mascara realness. I'm still getting the shape on this one to glue in the right way, but it is one pair of lashes. I think they were called 38s. They were the PC ones. You can see better on this side. See the PC stripes? And then the wispies that are in between, I believe, is a 76. And we have Bette. I figured since I sort of channeled the All About Eve Bette Davis vibe, I should at least try to style for it. Yeah, this is my little wave moment. I'm sure you're welcome to take from this what you will, but I thought it was the most effective way to do Bette Davis, aside from, but ya are, Blanche, ya are in that chair. So, this is for Troy. Anyway, so to go over it real quick, without the harsh light, we've got our round lips, very Bette Davis, and just a little bit of blush for the retro vibe. Everything looks a little more washed out. I'm going to take actual pictures and put them up on my Facebook, and they'll be easier to see there. And then we've got our crease of all sorts. Those of you who know me knew I couldn't do this totally straight. I do have crazy lashes on the bottom that are from 2 different pairs I glued together. But, I mean, you need to have that Bette Davis thing. I also know I do not have Bette Davis's big blue eyes, so you're going to have to improvise yourself for that. I can't Photoshop in video. Bette Davis is not someone I would say I look like, and I still wouldn't say that. But I think that I certainly can pull it off okay. I hope this was helpful to people who were interested in Bette Davis, and Troy especially. If you can take something from this, then fantastic. And if you can't, then I am sorry. I will work on other illusions. Feel free to keep suggesting, keep emailing, keep inboxing, and I will be sure to check them all. And I've got a big list of ones ready to come. So, alrighty, I have been up doing this all night, so I will see you all tomorrow.